Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 9 of My Dress Up Darling Season 2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Marin had called Juju for, I guess, participation in a cosplay event, which she just kind of shut down immediately. And, maybe she didn't shut her down. I think she was just kind of, terse and unsociable. That's just kind of how she is, really. But I guess, getting to the heart of the matter, I think she probably is going to turn Marin down, because that's just kind of how she is, you know. I seem to recall their relationship was, I guess, at best, kind of cordial. Ah, man. So anyways, last we left off, there's this cosplay event that Marin sort of joined in an ad hoc arrangement, and she also wanted to get some other people on board just to, make the group whole, I guess, to have a full complement. So, I guess the question is whether or not this will be successful. Because Marin's floating the idea that, we need 2 more people, so, how about you? And, Juju's not going for it. Ooh. Alright, so, Juju has an unfortunate attitude. She's only in this for herself. She doesn't care about getting along with others. I feel like to a degree you kind of do have to get along with others. And that, being rude and all that, or otherwise unsociable, you're not gonna get ahead whereas others might. And I guess, the bright side here is that the sister is, so excited about this that she might just sort of strong-arm her sister unwittingly. The idea that she's so excited about this possibility and that, she even in her mind has, what scene might be portrayed here. I think at this point, there's no way Juju can refuse, right? Even if only for the benefit of her sister. Oh, wow. I find it a little hard to believe that she was just so brazen in saying that, no, I'm not doing it. And I guess only now that she sees her sister's response is she going to consider. Although, interestingly, it seems like the fact that Gojo wasn't tailoring the costumes was something of a deciding factor in her mind for saying no. Not that she was liable to say yes, but that might have swayed her a little bit. And I guess now she's got to live with the guilt of this. Her sister, not deliberately, is kind of laying it on thick. And if there's one thing we knew from the previous season, it's that Juju adores her sister. And therefore, she just really kind of has no choice but to capitulate. Ooh, okay, so the title of this episode, I Don't Intend to Sleep Tonight, that is, something I've seen floating around on the internet, and whoa, buddy, things are gonna get interesting. So interesting though it is that Juju's already involved in, like, unfortunately, she's kinda gotta deal with everyone and her reputation and all that. Like, she's clearly not too thrilled, but I guess there's no getting around it, you know? So I guess now they're just kinda getting down to shop talk and sharing pictures. That is to be expected if they're gonna be doing all this together. But, there are still a couple unknown elements here. And I guess I'm kind of wondering what's gonna happen, because there is that, cosplayer whose name escapes me who focuses mainly on props. I mean, she's a bit of a unknown element here. You know, like, I guess there is also the idea that Gojo is not making the outfits. So I guess the question kind of remains, like, what is he going to be doing here? I guess I'm wondering if he'll be the photographer. So, this is a lot of praise being heaped on Juju, and I guess it's, it's all going to her sister's head because she's the photographer. Oh dear indeed. You know, that's kind of an embarrassing thing to say in front of the photographer. So, Shinju, she just kind of knows her place, you know, like, she did do a little bit of cosplaying, but, you know, she prefers taking pictures, so that's what she does. She acts as a photographer. But I guess, you know, she's being roped into this as well. And I guess as the sort of, resident subject matter expert, you know. Okay, alright. I assume I figured she would jump at the opportunity, but seeing as how the character they're offering her is the protagonist, you know, I guess it makes sense she has some doubts on the matter. I guess that's fairly typical, both of, I would assume, people in general and of Shinju in particular, seeing as how getting her to cosplay in the first place was kind of like pulling teeth. You know, a lot of work went into it, especially to make sure that things were going well. Okay, so here we go. This answers the big question. Gojo's not cosplaying, so what is he going to be doing? And I guess, helping with props. You know, this isn't his area of expertise or anything, and he doesn't really know the subject matter, but I guess, you know, he'll be doing a little bit of learning. Ooh, okay. So Marin's claiming, like, oh, it's, you know, a small 7-hour game, and I suppose for a game that is in fact small, but, that's a big time investment if you really only have, like, a day to learn all about it. Now that is interesting that everyone's asking for Gojo's thoughts on the game, putting a lot of emphasis on the word thoughts, which leads me to believe there's going to be something unconventional to the game that he may not necessarily approve of or enjoy. But I guess before any of that, like, I guess Juju's kind of stormed off, ostensibly to the bathroom, but I don't know. There is a fair bit of tension to that, so I don't know, maybe all the people are getting to her. So I guess, Marin left alone with other cosplay enjoyers, she has no choice but to declare that You know, she had done some more cosplaying, and it was quite successful. So, they're asking for pictures, but unfortunately, I don't think any currently exist. So, deeply unfortunate. I guess Marin's compatriots are gonna have to starve here. I mean, Suzuka, like, she seems to have passed away. I can understand the sentiment. Man, it's almost like Marin's deliberately tossing fuel on the fire, saying, you know, I cosplayed perhaps the best scene in the series, and no, you're not allowed to see it because no pictures exist. You know, I think waving the white flag is probably the appropriate response to a situation like this. So Akira has decided to go out for a smoke and hang out with, oh dear, another character whose name escapes me. Not Himeno, is it? Well, either way, Akira is sort of disclosing that her family life is not necessarily troubled, but her family don't particularly approve of what she does. You know, I feel like she's found something of a kindred spirit. Even if, you know, the person spending time talking to her doesn't smoke either. You know, kind of an odd thing, you know, hanging out with someone who's smoking when you yourself don't do it. Ooh. So that's something, you know, this understanding that Marin makes Akira, you know, anxious and clam up. I guess it's unfortunate that Gojo had to hear that, because, you know, he's not exactly impartial on the topic, but I guess at the same time he's also fairly understanding. So, are we going to learn something horrible? That's what the atmosphere leads me to believe. Yeah, it's never a good thing when you have to say, I'll explain everything. Like, whoa, buddy. I mean, it pertains to Marin somehow. Like, Akira clearly doesn't like her or want to be anywhere near her. But, as for why, you know, I can't imagine Marin would have done anything. So meanwhile, Juju's suffering about the dinner scene, so presumably there's something kind of spooky about it that she doesn't like. You know, they probably have to, like, douse her in spiders or something. Because, like, I was given to understand it was something of a horror game. But, you know, I guess if Juju's sister wants it, she's just gotta do it, you know? No getting around it. Ooh, so Marin's gonna play the game with Gojo together. Now, I guess this is an interesting question from Gojo. You know, how is it that horror movies scare you but horror games don't? And, I mean, I've kind of heard of that phenomenon before. I guess, you know, different media affects different people differently. I mean, that isn't to say, like, I particularly like horror movies or horror games, but I guess I could understand why one may or may not be less scary than the other. So on the one hand, like with a movie, you're not involved in the movie, so, you know, you can kind of disassociate from it, but in a game, when something scary happens, like, you're directly involved, but you also have agency to try and evade whatever horrible fate might befall you. So, you know, there's kind of two sides of it. Although that said, a horror game featuring nuns, like, I feel like things are gonna get real demonic real quickly. You know, it's interesting how they've sort of emulated the game's graphics, because, like, this does look like pixel art in a weird sort of way. Not like 8-bit graphics, but like... Oh, I don't know how to describe it, but it is remarkable how they've replicated the style. Oh dear. Things started to get a little bit scary as Gojo turned his back. Like, it's never a good thing. Although I guess it's more of a visual novel than anything else. I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. Oh, Gojo doesn't know. Like, he's just thinking, like, is this really a horror game? Doesn't seem very scary to me, but, I mean, they're eating dinner, so I feel like, this might be the dinner scene that was foretold. I don't know, like, given that they're all nuns, like, is there gonna be, like, a literal transubstantiation? Like, you know, is their food going to turn into flesh and blood in their mouths? Like, that'd be... frankly horrific, you know? Like, especially when you're not expecting it. I guess they're just kind of playing the game off and on because Marin wants to show off, you know, the wig and the outfit she has. It was pre-made, so Gojo didn't have to make anything, but I suppose he would have to tailor it in the event of an emergency. So, despite it getting later and later, you know, currently nearly 10 p.m., with trains stopping and all that, I guess due to an emergency. Oh dear. Well, Marin was urging him to stay later and stay later. I guess he really has no choice but to stay now, despite kinda not really wanting to. So she's dropping the question, like, do you want to stay the night? And, you know, not in a lascivious way, but it's like, look, you know, you can take the spare bed, like, man. So she's making it clear, like, this is, you know, a normal thing, but, oh, the poor guy, he's really having a real one, you know? Like, I feel like Marin's being awfully reasonable here, you know? It'll be hard to walk back home at night in the cold. Like, I know you don't have a change of clothes, why don't you just buy some and stay the night and be nice and warm and cozy and safe? You know, there's no real ulterior motive here. She's just saying, like, look, it's no hassle if you stay here. And I guess I get why he's reading a bit too far into things. I mean, frankly, who couldn't at his age? But, I don't know. I feel like in many cases, you could just sort of like step back and examine the situation and maybe not freak out a little bit. So at least he has a sense of propriety that staying the night's kind of like a line he shouldn't necessarily cross at this juncture. You know, I mean, I do think he is overselling it. Like, you shouldn't necessarily feel bad or guilty about this sort of thing. Anxious, sure, but, yeah, so I guess Marin's taking the opportunity, you know, like, shop for the stuff we'll need, shop for breakfast for tomorrow. So Gojo has decided to opt for, energy drinks, you know. And I guess the idea is this was featured in a manga he helped Marin cosplay. The one with the succubus, actually, which, you know, interesting, right? Because there was that one scene. Like, he's just determined to not fall asleep, as if that's, like, the big problem here. But, to stare so intently at the energy drink as if it is a gift from God himself, like, you know, maybe settle down. You know, he sort of latched onto the idea that, like, if you don't actually fall asleep, then no line is crossed, but That seems like a senseless kind of distinction without a difference, you know? So, like, he's treating this like, everything's okay now as long as I chug like a Monster Energy. Like, it isn't exactly that, but that's clearly what it's intended to emulate. So now Marin's getting second thoughts about staying over. Like, wouldn't this be what it's like to live together? And, yeah. I mean, in a sense, it might be. Although there are sort of extra circumstances here that make things a bit silly. Oh dear. It turns out the Monster Energy is right next to the aphrodisiacs and all the other stuff. Oh no. So naturally she is slightly unnerved by this. Asking like, what are you doing there, Gojo? What are you planning, buddy? And he just sort of deadpan states like, I don't intend to sleep tonight. Oh no, it's over. Like, lest we forget, like, regarding like the whole succubus thing, like Gojo lifted Marin up through the power of blood pressure only, so there's no doubt in my mind exactly what she's thinking about now. Whoa, buddy. Like she just sort of assumes, like, is that really where things are going? Is that what's happening tonight? At least she has some pause about it too, I suppose in that sense they've both got good heads on their shoulders that, like, they're trying to maintain some degree of virtue, but Marin's sort of like entranced by the idea now, which it's gonna lead to disappointment. I think as far as misunderstandings go, this is about as good as it gets, because the outcome will at least be kind of funny. I mean, I say that, I don't know that for sure, but I hope it would lead to a funny misunderstanding. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.